Hello to my wonderful art students. It's Mrs. Sentner coming to you from my art studio at home, and I'm very glad to welcome you in here with me again. And this is going to be our last lesson before we have summer break. And I can't believe I haven't seen you in 2 months. I cannot wait till we are able to get back in the art room again. But I hope you enjoy the lesson and that you do it and have a great time. And we will pick up again in the fall. So before we begin, I do want you to remember that this is a time for you to express yourself. This isn't about comparing or trying to be perfect. This is just you and your creativity. So making art is finding your own creative voice. No matter what, your art is always amazing and you get an A+. So if you don't have the supplies that I'm using for this lesson, just use whatever you have on hand. Use your imagination and get creative, whether you have crayons or markers, colored pencils or paint, oil pastels or chalk, or if you only have colored paper, you can tear out paper and make art with torn paper. So use your imagination, and whatever you can do, it's going to look fantastic. So this month, we're going to focus specifically on child prodigy artists. So do you know what a prodigy is? A child prodigy artist is a person that's under the age of 10, so in your age group, and they produce meaningful art to the level of an adult expert without any formal training, like they just know it. And they have mastered highly complex techniques at a very early age. So they have been also recognized for their success and achieved acclaim to some degree. So in this lesson, we are going to focus specifically on kindergarten, but you can also go try any of the lessons that I'll be posting for any of the months or classes that I'm posting during our distance learning. So have a great time doing any of the art. So I'm going to switch over to our learning portion with our slides, and then after that we'll move into the actual hands-on lesson. Mikail Akar was born on October 9th of 2012. So this year is 2020. He's going to be 8. On his 4th birthday, his parents gave him a small canvas and some finger paints, simply because they didn't want to give him any more Legos or Playmobil. So Mikail started to paint, and when his dad saw what he had created, he thought that his wife did it. But his wife said, no, our son did this. So this is his first piece of art, and they have never put it up for sale. Mikail is known as the Pre-School Picasso. He applies paint in many different ways, but he really likes a painting technique that he developed using his dad's boxing gloves and punching the canvas with paint. Mikail has a great sense of color, and he likes to watch YouTube videos so that he's able to learn new techniques. Do you remember learning when we were in class about complementary colors? If you don't, it's okay. We're going to review it again. So complementary colors are opposite to one another on the color wheel. So if you can look at the color wheel that I have up here, you'll see the arrows point to the opposite colors. So for instance, red is opposite green, purple is opposite yellow, blue is opposite orange. So each of the cool colors, which are purple, blue, and green, have a contrasting or complementary color of yellow, orange, or red. So I put them together at the bottom for you to see, and then I want you to look at his art. So it seems like it's pretty random, but at the same time, you have a lot of complementary colors next to one another. Like if you look at Johnny Depp's teeth, you have a blue right next to an orange. You have a light blue next to an orange or a darker blue next to an orange, and those are complementary colors. If you look up by his, when we're looking at it to the right, you see there's a big section of red and then a big section of green. So those are complementary colors. If you look over to the left, you have yellow, and then up in his hair is some purple. So he has done some very strategic placement in his art to reflect complementary colors, which are very striking. And they also allow you to get drawn into the art. Another thing I want you to think about is emotion in art and what emotions that you feel when you look at art. So I'm going to take you to these pieces of art because you can express your feelings if you're happy or sad, or if you're in a great mood, you can, if you're peaceful or calm, you can express all of your feelings inside of your art. So you can also do that with your art that we're going to work on today. Mikail has exhibited his art all over Germany, and he has become very popular internationally. Mikail mostly paints on canvas, but recently he actually was able to paint on an old wrecked airplane. And he says when he grows up that he wants to be a football player. But for us, when we think about football, we think about American football. The rest of the world is thinking about soccer. So he would like to play soccer when he grows up. He said painting, sometimes he gets tired when he's painting, and it takes a long time, especially when he's using boxing gloves. So here are some older pictures of him. So look at the piece that we are going to use as our inspiration. It's called Doing. And I want you to start thinking about what supplies that you might have on hand. I'm going to use paint and some toothpicks and a plastic fork. I've grabbed paint brushes and a piece of cardboard that I can paint on. I also have some paper plates to squeeze my paint out onto and a cup of water to rinse my brush with. So if you would like to look for more pieces by Mikail Akar, you can go online. He does have a website with a lot of his art, and there's some different studios that have his art online. So I do want you to remember that the cool part about having class like this is that you can hit pause all the way through. You don't have to keep up with me. If I'm going too fast for time's sake, just pause the video. You can go take a snack break. You can go play for a little while and come back to it while your paint dries some and add another layer. That's fine, and just catch up with me. There's no rush. So I hope you feel really good about what you're painting. And once you have finished your beautiful masterpiece, please sign it at the bottom on the right or the left corner in a contrasted color so that we can see your name. And then once you're finished, make sure to like this video. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that as well so that we can stay connected on YouTube. If I post anything during the summer, you'll get a notification about it. And then we also want you to have your parents post your art on Instagram or on Facebook using the hashtag SaddleUpMavs or Rooted Oak Meadow so that we can all see your work and brag on it and give you lots of yay, kudos. And even though we can't be together in the classroom right now, we can continue to have fun together online, sharing our art and encouraging our friends and keeping ourselves lifted up together. So I hope this will help us to stay in community and be in touch with our friends. So let's go make some art. Now we are going to move into our lesson portion. So I have my cardboard. I have the example. You can either put it up on an iPad or something. I printed it out just so you could see our example as well. I have some different items that I can use for texture when we get to that part. So I got a sponge and some toothpicks or little skewer sticks, a fork I thought would be good for texture. I have all different kinds of paint brushes and I have flats and rounds in different sizes. I have 2 containers of water because I personally prefer to always rinse my warms in one and my cools in another, and then I don't end up with brown water that messes up my art. And then I have a color wheel of paint. So the first step that we're going to do is create our base layer. So I'm going to take my whitest flat brush that I have, and I'm going to look here at what my example is. So there's a lot of light blue paint. So I'm going to start with that as my base layer here and get it laid down. If you want to get a white layer down first, and that would help your colors to be brighter, I'm just doing what I think kids might be able to work with that they might have from home. So I'm going to go in 2 different directions just to spread well. and make sure that I have really good coverage with my paint. I'm just using a bunch of extra paint that we have up at school that I brought home. I think they're different craft paints. Some are acrylic, maybe most of them are acrylic. I did not have an acrylic white, so I'm going to try it at the end when we're doing little details. I'm going to try to use some tempera paint white for details and see if it will cooperate with my art project. So trying to get my paint spread out here with a base layer color that's like a light blue. Remember, we're going to continue to work with complementary colors. They are colors that are opposite of one another on the color wheel. And then I also want you to be thinking about, like, I love happy art, when art just has a really fun, happy personality to it. So I like using fun, bright, happy colors in my art. That's why I picked this piece. I think it looks very soothing and joyful, like a party on a canvas. I think probably all of these supplies could be easily grabbed inexpensively at Walmart if you need to do that. Okay, so I'm going to rinse my brush in my cool water. I like to always do it separately. Oh, I probably should also have a paper towel close by so that if I need to, I always get full of paint when I paint and I don't mind at all. But I do like to just dab my brush off a little bit. And then I'm going to come into the next color of blue and just start to dab that in. I might switch to a round brush so I don't have so much texture on this one. Let me see how that works out. You always want to, especially if you're working with acrylic, you really want to rinse it out of your brush so you don't have your paint dry in it. So I'm gonna just get that a little bit damp and then make some, so this is a different blue. It's going to be in harmony with our other colors, meaning they're 2 or 3 shades from one another on the color wheel. So they flow well together and have some good color together. So I love this art because it's very free and fun. Just move here, spread it out some, then come in here, and I'm going to take a little bit of this darker color and add that in here. Trying to use his as our inspiration. I even have some that's kind of shiny metallic, so I'm going to move that in here. And I even like the fun texture and pattern that we're getting with this. So I love what he does because he has a lot of cools as the background, and then he has warm colors as his patterns. So it gives it a really good mix. I'm going to come and get some of this lighter blue-gray color up here. So you just use your creative inspiration. If you're working with markers or crayons, that's fine. Just blend them together. Pick some of this up and then get that to blend a little nicer. Very fun. Okay. So we're going to start to need to make a plan for how we're going to draw out our face and hair. So if you notice at the top, we want to let this dry a little bit while I talk to you about what we need. So if you have a flat paintbrush, that will be good to start applying our warm colors. With the straight lines that we have up here, we'll use a flat brush. That'll work out really easily. So I'm going to take this one that I have that's pretty thin. Rinse my fingers off in there because I've got so much paint on my fingers. And if you need to wear a smock, I grabbed my smock so that I don't get my clothes messed up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start. He's got a lot of really bright colors of the rainbow going across. It seems like there's almost all of the colors of the color wheels. So just go around. I've got my flat edge here, and I'm just going to come at different lengths like hair and just swoosh it up. I'm going to work with all of my oranges, so I'm doing them all at one time. I'm not rinsing my brush between each one of the colors because that will make this take a whole lot longer. My lines are not super straight. I think you could probably also use something like a toothpick if you wanted to have a really thin line and just come in and stripe down like that. Or start from here and work your way up. That works well. So start here and work your way up. These are kind of longer on this side. I'm stuck. There we go. So these pieces of hair are a little bit longer here, so you can use that flat edge of the toothpick. Or work your way down. Let me rinse this off. I actually, for this part, like the toothpick even better. So just experiment with what you like. But as we know, the blue and the orange are opposite one another on the color wheel. So look how awesome that is, the way that stands out together. So then I'm going to come to a lighter yellow and just bring it straight down. If I need to pick up some more, I'll do that and just bring it down. And then scoot over some and make some more. Some of these he has coming longer, almost looks like a heart shape to make the eyes. All right, rinse that one off and maybe use a little bit of the darker yellow also next to it just to give some brightness. I just stuck my finger right. This is what I love about recording video. Just stuck my finger right in that blue paint. Always going to get messy doing art, right guys? So get some of the darker yellow and come here next to it. I like the way the toothpick works. So hopefully you have that in your house too. Then we'll get some red. Just regular red. So I'm going to come down between some of these. Come up here a little shorter. And then longer here. This is really fun. Trying to create that eyebrow heart shape above here. Just use all your color imagination. And then I'm going to add in some cool colors because he did that too at the top. So take in some green. And then I always rinse in either my warm or my cool so I don't end up with brown water. Then I'm going to put in some blue, darker blue here. Some over here. That is super fun. And while I have this, I'm also going to be able to use it to do some dotting and some outlining work later. So this will be a good tool to use. I think it's a fantastic tool for doing very thin lines. So next I'm going to move to the eyes. And I'm going to get a thin paintbrush so that I can use several different colors in it. So first I'm going to start with some purple that seems to be pretty close to the center. And I'm going to do a circle here. I don't really see any purple in the right-hand one. So rinse that off. I'm just going to go in order. It looks like yellow was in the middle and I did not catch that. So I'll drop some yellow right in the middle there. Next is going to be some red. Come around and put the red in. I hope you guys are having a good time with this. I tried to think of lessons at home that you could do with maybe just some stuff you already have on hand. So then I'm going to save that and let that dry a little bit before I go back in and outline with white or black at the end. I'm just saving that for my accents and highlights very last. So next I'm going to use these yellow, green, all these different colors around the eye. I don't really, oh, there was some red over here. So let me put this circle shapey thing over here. And later we can add outline in black and then some white there. And next I'm going to move to yellow. This kind of darker yellow. This will be a good outline over here, pretty big. You do not have to be perfect, just have fun with it. This is like free-flowing, fun art. So do an eye. This is why he's called the mini Picasso, because he does all these wonderful shapes and so these are kind of like flowers. Little flower petals going around his eye. So we can add those in. So Picasso was known for an art style called Cubism, where he would take shapes and turn them into art, like squares and circles and triangles. So he would do a lot of portraits of people, but he used an awful lot of shapes to make that happen. So this is why this little child prodigy is also known as Mini Picasso, because he has a lot of fun shapes in his art. So we'll just keep using the colors that he has. I'm going to move into some orange here and see where all we might have orange. Got way too much orange right there. So you can see shapes like triangles and lines, straight lines and curved lines. You can get really creative with triangles and curves and see what we've got going on over here. Another one. So I'm very inspired by this kiddo. I think he's a whole lot of fun. Y'all will have to let me know if you like this project. Maybe we can add it into the school year next year. Okay, so then I'm going to move into, I have all my red, orange, and yellow. So now those are my warm colors. So now I'm going to move into my cool colors. Over here, I have that. There's a triangle green right there. There's a curve up here. Another triangle over here. Another triangle right here. This is very fun. And then there's some blues. I'm probably going to go with the darker blue. Just kind of stuck between here. So you can start layering. 1, 2. There's a little bit of an outline going on with that. And it's okay if the paint colors mix together. That's fun. Just wipe it off so it doesn't get in your actual paint on your plate. Might even use this blue as my outline in here. since I'm already in it. Paper towel has turned out to be a fantastic tool with this art project. Okay, so next I'm going to move into the, do I have all the colors there? No, I don't. Let's get some more of this. It looks like there's I'm not gonna do black or white until the end, so I'll just kind of start off here with this fun shape and then I'll come back to it later. This looked like it needs some yellow inside of it. I need a lot more yellow. So you can just use your imagination and get very creative with your art. Thick or thin, whatever shapes that you want to use. And then if you want to outline any of them, just to create some fun. I think this is really going to turn out to be one of my favorite lessons. So I like to work from the top down, so I'm not running my arm and my clothes through my art. So next thing I want to do is work with these fun little zigzag designs over here. So we've got some darker red. I'll do that. And it looks like it's pretty thin, so I think I might try a toothpick and see how that works out. So I'm gonna clean my brush some and grab a toothpick and just dip it in this red. Just make different shapes. I don't know if that's gonna work as well. I might have to go with the flat. Use what you have. Use this flat edge on here, and yes, that's gonna work good. So I can do that. And then I can do another straight line that way. Okay, that works good. The brush has a good flat edge to it. Clean it between picking up paint so you don't end up putting blue paint into your red. Then down here we've got some other red that's like a zigzag. Some more red zigzag underneath that. So I'm just turning my flat brush. Got some more zigzag over here. It's kind of an orange. So if you like to mix colors, looks like a darker orange, so I can just take that red and add some orange into it to get a darker orange, or I can add some yellow if I think it got too dark still. I can add some yellow because yellow and red are always going to give us orange. So just paint freely and creatively. You do not have to do exactly what I'm doing. I want to see your own personality come out. Oh, that's great. Come out in your art. So these are going to be lots of fun shapes. So next I'm going to do the mouth. So I think I'm going to use this same brush that I have. Seems to be working well for me, and get me a red mouth here. So I'm just going to come up here and we'll make it one big arch one way. It's not a perfect mouth. Then I'm going to come here and make another arch that way. It's a funny mouth. There's a line down the middle. Looks almost like this one got braces. So I'm going to use that to make some hash marks through here with some fresh red paint. One, two, just make them all different lengths. Some are shorter and some are longer. Here we go. Okay, so I think I'm finished with it. I think I could do some yellow hash marks over here and some orange ones too. So let me get some orange going on. There's kind of a creeping little funky line going in between. So it's like a little trail over here. Do that. And then there's some yellow on that side. So I'm trying to do some things that I'm not going to drag my arm through it later. Right under all of that. So see if I can move me up a little bit. You just get flowing with what works well for you. I really love all the different patterns and techniques that he has in his art. Okay, then I'm going to move to this round brush, a very fine round brush, and start adding in the colors that he has. So I'm going to go with this blue up here, and it's like an arch, then another arch. Just go around inside of here. They don't have to be all the same. Might make that one a little bit deeper. So do that. Down here, I'm not going to use the blue yet. Come here with some green up underneath this. So that is a harmonious color. They are next to each other on the color wheel. And then in the bottom, it's like some pink. We'll go with this lighter shiny red because I don't really have a pink. And add that in. Just use what you have and have a blast. It's very fun abstract. Then I'm going to come on top of that with some yellow. Just mix it all blobby and get it in there together. Then take some darker blue. Just make some hash marks underneath there. Okay, now, oops, I almost rinsed my cool in my warm water. So see how when the water is warms and cools, then my water doesn't turn brown. Like when we're at school, the water always turns really brown and dirty and it messes up our art. So now we've got this area over here. It looks like a bunch of Cheerios, a whole lot of circles. So we're going to work with this area now and just do lots of pops of color. So just go through. I'm going to do all of my yellows at one time. So I'm going to do yellow, yellow. You can do them little or big, but just come through and have a variety of different colors. I love this little artist. He's a lot of fun. And I'm so glad you guys are getting to learn about somebody who is making fantastic art at such a young age like you are. So here's a red. So I'm just going to go through and do pops of red. You can do them however you want to. Don't worry about if they're in the same place as mine are. We are being inspired by him and making our own piece of art. So then I'm going to come through and grab up some orange. Make these little circles all over the place. Super fun. I hope you guys are liking this, and you'll have to let me know if you think we should add it into our school year. I think there's kind of some pinky colors in here, so I'm going to add that in too. There's a little bit of green, so I'll come add the green in. I think it's funny, this guy's got no nose. So then after we're done with this, I did grab a sponge so that I could use it to make some texture. So I'm going to let a lot of this dry, so then at the very end we can come in and add in outlining with our very fine, thinnest paintbrush that we have. We'll add in some outlining. with white and black. But for now, I'm going to get my sponge wet in my warms, because most of these are warm colors. I can see a lot of reds and oranges and yellows. So I'm going to get my sponge wet, and I'm going to work my way. I'm going to start with red here, and I'm just getting it on the tip, on the corner, just like we do in class. So grab the tip and dip it in, and then just start to tap it around down here to make some different designs. That comes from all the way on the corner up a little bit up here, not a lot, just some random pattern. So then I'll rinse that out and move to orange. We want to go darkest to lightest so they sit on top of each other. So I'll get some orange here. I squeezed out all of the water just so that I have some pretty solid orange. Then I'm just going to go dab that in on top of the red in different spots. Okay, and then lastly, I will grab some yellow. I'm going to rinse this and squeeze it really well, and then grab up some yellow on my paper towel. I might dab it in really good so I don't leave a lot of pattern on here. Swipe it if you want. You can take it and swipe it. There we go. So I feel really good about that. You can keep pausing and messing with yours if you want to. The last thing I'm going to do is grab some white and some black. I'm just going to leave that in there. I'm going to grab some white and some black and put it on my extra paper plate. So I'll put some white here, and I'll put some black here, and we're going to use this for outlining and details. So remember I said, let's grab that. So up here in the hair, we had white. Make sure when you bring your arm through that you don't want to touch, but I'm going to add some white in now that this is a little more dry. I can add some pops of white through here like he did. I'm going to go through and do all of my whites, and then I'll come back in and do the black. Black is the one I don't work with until the very end because I think it's messy and it takes away from the art and makes it too dark, and we want to have really happy art. Cannot wait to see yours. Okay, so next, I think I got some color in my white. So next I'm going to come and I'm going to outline here with my white. It's okay if it mixes with the color that's there. Just clean off your paintbrush and add some more as you go around to thicken up that white. I didn't have acrylic white. I'm having to use tempera paint, so it's not going to stick as well as the acrylic does, since it's washable and thinner. But I'm still able to come around and add in white in a thicker range. And then here there was white in between the yellow. This little pint-sized Picasso artist is a whole lot of fun. Then we've got an outline of white coming. Oh, there was actually a little bit of white coming out there and some here. Very, very fun. Okay, then I'm going to do the upper lip. I'm going to probably have to do a few since, again, I don't have acrylic. It's not thick enough to make a nice solid line. Lots of fun. I like having fun with art. Here we even outlined these teeth, kind of funny. So let's see if we can't get some white outline going on here. Looks like braces almost. You guys, I think, are pretty much too young for braces in kindergarten. Okay. I don't really see a whole lot of other white, maybe just a little bit coming in here. I could just spread some in. And that's it for my white. Then I'll come in and do blacks. So this is the last thing I do, and I don't like to use a lot of black. So just a little bit on the tip. And I can see a few places where there's just a little bit of black up in the hair. Not a lot though. Some outline inside of this red. Very fun. I think my black is actually a very deep purple now that I'm looking at it, but that's great. It'll mix really nice. And then a lot of these circles seem to have a black outline around them. And that is going to take a minute. Just filling in those with some black. Just make sure you use it very sparingly. Try to use as pointy of a tip of a paintbrush as you can so you don't end up with a whole lot of black dominating your painting. If you would rather wait for it to dry and then try to use a Sharpie around it, a fine tip Sharpie, that might work as well. And you can have mixed media. So there we go. And then the last thing that we're going to do is always sign our name with flourish. So he uses his initials in a real block style. I'm going to just write my initials as well because that is how our artist did it. So we're going to do K for me and an S. I'll try to do a block S. It's going to look like a 5, but I'll do it like that so that it looks like our artist. And I'm finished. So now that we have finished, I want you to look in the comments and you can find the link to anything that has to do with Mikail Akar and learn more about him, the little pint-sized Picasso. And then if you would subscribe to my videos, so if I post anything else over the summer, just some fun things that we might be able to do, you'll be able to know that it was posted. And like this video, please. And then have your parents take a picture and post your art either on our Instagram page or on the Facebook page using either hashtag Satellite Mavs or Rooted Oak Meadow. And I am so happy that you guys have done this with me, and I can't wait to see your work. Bye-bye.